Welcome to Internet Flight Rules. Today we're going to take a look at the Phenom 300 Embraer, the aircraft here XPlane 12 by Aerobask. Full disclosure, this is the first time me flying it. I've just bought it. It is the latest version of XPlane 12. It is the latest version of the Phenom 300, and this is an unpaid, unbiased thoughts, feelings, impressions. The aircraft's had more than some time to mature now for XPlane 12. I'm by no means an expert with this aircraft, either the family or this one. Again, so all that I've done is buy it, load it, put in the key code, reload it as it asks, and that is it. One other thing to note, it is the highest rated jet in terms of user ratings for XPlane 12 that I did not own until just now. So I'm looking forward to it, and I am in no way affiliated with anybody, whether it's Aerobask or anybody else with the XPlane 12 thing. So if it's good, bad or ugly, I'll say it. It will be a live recording with no cuts or edits. So what you see is what you get. So we're on the ground here at Lost Wages, and nice looking little aircraft. I was just setting up a couple of views. This is how it loads up, by the way. So the engine covers and whatnot is on by default. We've got the little luggage thing open here by default. We see we've got these, do not fly, the tube covers and so forth. Very nice shiny livery. It came with about 10 liveries, I think, and I picked one that was like halfway down the list. It certainly weren't the default one. The default one was blue, but seeing as that's the ones that's in all the screenshots, I decided not to. Alright then, so let's go ahead and jump on inside the aircraft. And again, in no way have I, so those of you that are frustrated that I'm not immediately doing the right thing, please bear with us. This is part of what I do here on the channel. I like to feel my way around a new plane without watching tutorials or reading how-tos or going through checklists, because to me, part of the fun is, can random internet guy get a study level aircraft into the air? And so that's what we're going to do. So jumping inside, one thing you'll notice, if I can show it here, frame rate is reasonably good. It's not as good as the Tolis or the Zebo, but it's certainly better than some of the others that would include the CRJ 1000, which is the only other Embraer aircraft that I own. And so yeah, upstairs looks a little bare apart from the lights there, but we've got this real nice glass cockpit. Looks like the only FMC entries, if we want to call it that, is with this device here. Otherwise, doesn't look too complicated. I have to say, it looks a relatively simple aircraft to fly. Just saying what I see here. So the these what are they called? The fuse switches. Come on, it's getting on a bit. The fuse switches do not seem to work at all, which is pretty standard for modules. But as we know, some of them do have them, and it's some of them use it to work with the failures. It is a twin-engine jet. I have set that up. Some nice looking seats. And I did set up some views in back, but suffice to say, we've got this little sofa here, a very small galley. We've got 4 more seats here, 2 left, 2 right, and then a further 2 in back, and a very small bathroom, which actually doubles up as another seat. Fancy how you'd feel if you were in a group of friends going away somewhere and everybody was up front and you were the one that was told to go sit on the bog for landing. Yeah, which I find a little ironic. But yeah, and it looks like we can we open and close these? Well, the mouse was certainly there, so where's it gone now? Good question. Yeah, I guess they can't simulate running water, so they just have a picture of some, but nevertheless, it was there. And at at least you can close the blinds. So if you are on the ground, you can have a visit the throne in peace. All right, well, with that said and done, let's come forward a little bit. We seem to have lights. Code probably don't work because I've not got any power on the aircraft yet. So let's get on with it then. Anything else, I'm sure. But somebody will let us know in the comments who's got this before. So we'll close the door. That shuts there. And yeah, I suppose the stairs remain visible like that. There's no little curtain that you can pull across or anything like that to make it a little more homely. But that's fine. And let's go up front then and see if we can figure this thing out. So... I was coming up top for the battery switch, but of course it ain't there. Coming down here on the lower left-hand side, I don't know if we do have an aircraft menu on this. Does look like we have an option thing, so let me just hit it. Okay, so it's the standard fuel thing. I assume you could bind this to your controls. This is also going to give us the V speeds, which is great. I'm just going to pause the video just in case my key code's in one of these. Okay, good news. I've just quickly cycled through now. There's no confidential information with regards to key codes or anything. So, yeah, so this is the default fuel. Camera to fuel panel, which is interesting. Let's press that. So if you got to... it's a very, very... Oh, I see. We're underneath the aircraft. All right, so I wonder if they actually want you to... Oh, well, so you can actually... Do you know, that is something else. I've not seen that before, where you can really do anything with the aircraft other than open and close doors. And it looks like here, these switches... And again, I've not watched anybody else's videos on the Phenom, so whether it's tests or whatever, this to me is all new. Power selection. So if I press that... Wow. So you can actually... get a little bit of battery power regardless of what it says in the cockpit by pressing this switch. Here it says quantity T 112 1210 kilos, and if we take a look here, the weight here is in pounds, but we know that 2 pounds is slightly less than a kilo, and so therefore we can see here that 2,600 pounds is 1,200 kilos, and that matches great. And so I like this. So if we were to increase this, is this the akin to... so let's just try setting it to 1,000. There we go, 1,400. Refuel. Abort the refueling procedure if the fail lamp is on. Well, let's try it then. Refuel. And so this here must be, yeah, look at the numbers changing here. This must be akin to, you've just plugged the refueler thing in here, because this is pumping. And there's 1,400, so it's going to stop loading by itself, which is great. A couple of kilos off, which is interesting. So we'll close the refuel thing. We'll shut that off. We'll set the power selection to normal. And we'll shut that. We'll close the cover. I wonder if it can slosh around and fall out. But in any case, I like that. I like that. The passenger door, close cabin, baggage. So I assume these options here are instead of just manually wandering around the aircraft and doing it yourself. And just to prove the point, I'm going to press the button on one and try and do it the other. And so the right hand side for the baggage, I'm going to try close it with manually. There we go. And just in case we're lazy or it's nighttime and it's raining and we don't want to go outside, can we close the left-hand side? Yes, we can. So there is that. Close baggage aft. That must be this little door here. Did not notice this one before. And so we've got even more room for baggage. Probably not the biggest bags in the world, but for... You could probably get 3 or 4 nice bags stood up there. These bags just seem a little bit small to me. But in any case, let's close that one. And yeah, once you've changed it here, the words change from open to close. So it's always obvious which way around that is. And yeah, and so with that, great. The GPU panel, it says open. Let's press that. Okay, that's nice to know. So we know this one here is that. This panel here doesn't seem to open, but yeah, this one does. So GPU, I can only assume, is where we stick the ground power in, and I guess we click. There we go, yeah, and that enables the ground power unit. There we go. And so it just magically appears behind us when we click, but that, you know, that's fine. That's how these units seem to work in this game. Big props on the reduction in sound when you get in the cockpit. It doesn't either do nothing or completely disappear. It's just a bit of gradual reduction. Let me give you an idea on that. So if I shut up so you get a real idea of the sound. Brilliant. I like it. Okay, so with ground power on, we've fueled it up the way that we want. Options wise, we've got a few options here, and fuel in pounds and pounds per hour. I'm going to enable that because I like that. Enable touch screen features. FLC mode does not synchronize AP speed. I assume that means flight level change mode. Normally when you press it, it grabs whatever the speed is. I assume this means you can pre-dial another speed and it won't change over. I assume that, but of course I don't know. Instrument pop-ups, so we'll leave everything else on default. We've got the Garmin 1000 primary flight data stuff here. We've also got the Garmin 1000 multifunction display. A bunch of options there, and again, I'm just going to leave all of this as standard. Sounds wise, we'll leave everything there on full blast. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the only other thing that we'll do, I wonder what the next button here is. I wonder if that just scrolls through there. One thing, I do just want to know, where do we put the passengers? Do we press that? Oh, that changes the livery, does it? Okay, that's cool that you can change the livery on the fly without reloading the aircraft. I like that. V-speed's here, and yeah, interesting that there doesn't seem the option for passengers. It was a fuel only, and again, you know, whether it's one person or in this aircraft up to about 10. I suppose yourself, co-pilot 3 here, 4, 2 more at the back, 1 on the bog. It's at least 10. That adds a bit of weight and the cargo for such a small aircraft. So I would like to see them add that, unless I'm just completely looking in the wrong place, but I can't see where else it would be. All right, let's do away with that then. We'll refer back to it when we need rid of the ground power. And I'm forever going to be looking up there, so let's come down here on the lower left side. Battery 1. Really like those sounds. Battery 2. And she's lit up quite nicely. We didn't have any request yet for ground power, but we do see it's available. So it looks like the battery by itself, unlike some aircraft, completely power the systems. We heard the fan were up as well.
System test. Okay.
Great. Panel lighting was on full by default. That's fine. We'll leave that on. We'll arm the emergency lights. Cabin effect, which is an interesting phraseology. I assume that means something back here. Oh, it must mean this here.
Test. Pass.
We'll leave that on. So it sounds like there's a bunch of self-tests going on. We'll put the nav lights on. So taxi lights off, strobes off, panel lighting on, effects on full, upwash, that's something else that's on full by default, and the other one is emergency lights. So the only one here now are strobes and taxi / takeoff. So there is that. So let's go ahead and enable the ground power unit. Well, that sounds like she jumped to life in some big way. The pneumatics here appear to be bleed from the engines only 1 and 2. As best I can see, there is nothing jumping out at me that says APU. So it's the GPU or the battery. Electrical here for the engines is automatic, so I'm going to put 1 and 2 on. Same with the bleeds. Let's leave the bleeds off for now. Let's go ahead then, see if we can start this thing up. So all the doors are closed. I could really do with the collision light, you know, the one that you put on basically to let everybody know we're about to start, unless it's the effect light, but no, again, that was an internal one. We do have a little light up here. Usually they have beacons, don't they? I mean, unless again I'm just looking in the wrong place. Perhaps it's all done by hand signals on this one. In which case, let's give whoever's outside a wave of the hand. ELT, the emergency locator stuff is on, armed, or test. Signs, head, belts off, belts on, off, on. So that must be the seatbelt signs. Pumps appear to be on by default. Sorry, automatic by default. They weren't off, so we'll leave those automatic. Hydraulic pump, ELT. Let's go ahead, put the signs on then. Over here, windshield heat and all that can wait. Ice protection, I don't think we'll need. Inspection light. This must be the equivalent of the wing lights then. Again, it's oh, it looks like they were on by default, but it's not. It's off. So having turned them on now, and yeah, there we go. We see the little lights there. It does make a little light. Interesting, it only shows one wing. Well, that really is interesting. I guess if one wing's icing, so is the other. But even so, I find that interesting. Right, so the engine stop switches. We've got engine ignition off, auto on. The trimmer switches to the right. Engine start, stop, run, start. Engine ignition off, auto on. Well, I'm going to try with auto. We'll try and start engine number 2. If that don't work, turn ignition on, and then we'll do the same again. We are plugged in. So in theory, if we screw the start up, you know, it's not like we don't have any electrical power anymore. We're plugged in. So let's see if we can make that work. And so engine ignition number 2 to automatic. I do like that you can mouse wheel the controls, you know me if you watch this channel, in the direction that you would want, and you, providing you get the arrow in the right place, you could also click instead. I do prefer having that option, so 10 points for that. Alright, let's go ahead, set from from stop to run, which I guess doesn't do anything. And then we need to go from run to start. I would like to see engine information somewhere on the panel. I wonder if it's automatic or not for the purposes of the start. For some reason, with mouse wheel there and zooming in and out, it's clicking something. If that zooms in the map just by doing that, that would be really useful. We'll have to see if that's the case. Alright, so do we have a dedicated engine button here? Latest Iraq cycle, valid as of a day or two ago, 10th of August, so it's actually 3 days. Menu. Press enter, the rightmost soft key to continue. Enter. Ah, there we go. That's what we're looking for. I guess the instructions were right on the screen. Okay, here we go. So ground power unit is connected. We've got the 2 engines, and yeah, there does not seem to be any indicator for an APU. So let's go on ahead Very nice, easy start. Must all be electrical. She's already up and running. Oh, I forgot to remove the covers. Clearly there'd be some sort of issue with the covers on and the engine running. I don't think you could start it with these on, man. It's how do we pull them off? Because I didn't actually see it. Let's have another little look. Was there the options there to pull the engine covers off? Static elements, that could be it, I assume. Yeah, there we go. Static elements, which includes, by the way, the chocks, and even on single engine, it looks to me, yeah, she's rolling ever so slightly. So let's come to a stop. If she will let me park in brakes, there we go. We're still rolling, I can only assume, because we need bleeds. Let's get rid of the ground power unit and close the panel. Surely I've got my brakes bound, so there must be something else to do here. But for now, let's go automatic on engine 1. Let's get rid of this. Very, very easy to start the engines, I have to say. We'll turn the sounds back up now we're inside. No flight plan or anything. We'll just go up and we'll land at Boulder City, which is just to the south of Las Vegas. Although we will take a tour around the Hoover Dam. If the bridge is there, we'll fly over the Hoover Dam and under the bridge. What else we got here then? Windshields, well, they go on by default now, so let's turn those on. Ice protection, I don't think we're going to need. Wing stab, ice speed reset. This is interesting. Wing stab, ice protection. Yeah, I don't think we need. Right, hydraulic pumps then. Let's open them, 1 and 2. Power on. Yeah, there we go. Brakes are working now. So it was something to do with these hydraulics here. Bleed on the other one. Isolation valve, or the cross bleed, should I say. I guess isolation valve is the same thing. Is set to automatic. What we got here? A test. Various tests. Let's just do a stall protection test.
Stall.
Ice protection.
Stall.
Oh, okay.
Stall.
Stop, off. There we go. Let's try it again. Ice protection. Is it going to say anything or give us any alerts? I'm not seeing. Let's turn it off. Right then. Tiller is working. I'm not sure where the tiller on this aircraft is, or if it's just a case of the tiller's set and so that's it. I'm going to use the rudder now. Oh, the tiller most definitely is working, because look, boot all the way in. See, we're hardly steering. So where is the tiller? I don't know where the tiller is, but it's very responsive, so it's clearly somewhere. Alright, let's make a go for it then. So taxi lights on. Gotta say, it was surprisingly easy and quick to start up for a first time. So if you are new to flying in xPlane or at all and you fancy yourself an easy to start aircraft, I can recommend this one. In terms of how to use the Garmin and stuff, I'm by no means an expert. I guess it's very similar to the glass cockpits that you find yourself in the Cessnas and various other aircraft. I'm just not somebody that uses it very much. Las Vegas. Now, which one is it we need to turn? Is it This one? Yep, select departure. Is it? Do we push that? No, enter. There we go. Well, it was the Joker 3 I took the other day, so I'll take that to begin. Although we've got the Hoover, I guess that takes us to the Hoover Dam. And we will depart off. Where are we the closest to? Airports, Kalas. It's going to be 1 left or 8 left. Doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and take 1 left then. Enter. Load. I like that. The mouse wheel there does zoom in and out. Electrics is good. Anti-ice not required. Fuel, we've got about a ton. Status, all there in the green, looks good. And so flaps, 1 notch, whatever that happens to be, is just 1. Okay, so it's like the Airbus flaps, 1, 2, 3, and full. Quite literally. Speed brake here is close or open. We've got to take
Takeoff. Okay.
We've got a takeoff config button, and apparently we're all good to go, so I see no reason why now to delay. That was a lot easier than I anticipated. I guess our highlighted leg there in pink is what we are to do, and in white there is the plan, I assume, unless that it's one of those real short departures where it's just a case of vectors. By the way, it's nice to be able to zoom. Yeah, that there is a vector. There's no way that you've got a departure 1,000 miles long, not even in the US. Yeah, so we'll take off and then we'll turn here and investigate the Hoover Dam, and then that'll be it. We'll assume now we've been cleared to take off, and so with it, landing lights on, strobe lights on, and I guess that's it. We'll just shout, everybody ready? And with it we'll go. I think it's this one. Best get it right. It is a 01 departure, so it's not this one, it's this other one that crosses over. I do like the way it leans slightly when you do these turns, which does give you that sense of weight. You know what I'm like for my very snappy responses, and I'm just going to jam the Tillo side to side. You can actually hear the rubber squeaking. Clearly is a jet, you would expect a much snappier response. I like it. We're here at like 3 knots, so yeah. Alright. Brakes on then. We'll not use the autopilot for departure. I guess what we will do is just set runway heading for like 15 degrees. Altitudes. We'll clear ourselves up to sort of 6,000 feet and we'll just freestyle it from there on in. I have no idea on the V speeds or where these speeds are from or if they are indeed correct. In fact, speaking of which, let's just have... It did have the option for V speeds here. Show them. We can manually enter them. Enable automatic thrust reserve ATR. That's an interesting one. I thought it said thrust reverse, but it doesn't. Allow steep approach speed brakes, which is interesting. Landing anti-ice, takeoff anti-ice. Okay. Compute the speeds. V1, there we go. So it's very easy. And send the speeds to the PFD. There we go. So 101, if we lose an engine, it's 108. And I guess VFS is the equivalent of V3 or flat retraction. Now, why has this not propagated? Or maybe it has, I don't know. But either way, V2... Speed select. There we go. Is I'm going to go for 132. All right, let's get rid of this. Engines are stable. I love that. You throttle up and the ITT stabilizes. Whoa, I just want a closer look at my thrust. There we go, takeoff. I do like the synthetic navigation here. And there we go, rotating. You can definitely tell she's lighter than the airlines that I like to fly on the channel. Wheels in. Hey, is that interesting? All right, there's a right-hand turn already. Hey, look at the bird there, the flight path vector. Wow, at the sounds. One of the best modules for a flyby sound I've heard. Bringing in the flaps. Do you know what? I am so impressed. Somebody left me a comment recommending me this aircraft. It was one of the very first comments I got on the channel, and 1,000 apologies. I can't remember who it was. Thank you very much for the suggestion. I'm just going to tell you with the first, however long you've seen me flying it on this video, that's how long I've had with this aircraft. I really like it. Throttle back to climb, I'm trimming back. You can see the turbulence, she's quite responsive to it. I'm just vaguely heading the way here on departure. Once we get over the water, we'll do it manually. Yeah, so I will say you can tell with it being small, it's going to be quite difficult to manually hold altitude unless like you basically focus on that. There seems to be no easy way. You know, like the 737, it's so stable. You know what, if you trim it right and set the power, it will more or less stay there. I realize it's a given in the fly-by-wire stuff on the Airbuses, but anyway, let's go ahead. So flight directors, go 080 altitude. And oh, where are we then? Yaw damper on and autopilot on. Down she goes, so she's going to recover for 6,000 feet, which is great. And I'm manually controlling the throttle. Okay, heading select. Responding nicely. Wow. Well done, Aerobask. Does make you wonder if somebody can make a module like this. I mean, I assume they've made modules before. I think it's the first module from Aerobask I own. This is in the back of the plane, the right window. Tell you what, actually, we can go into the bathroom. We can open the... See what? It just make me wonder what am I doing. Oh, there we go. We got to use the. There we go. It's the side to side. Okay, so you can get a slightly further back view if you're willing to sit on the toilet right next to that engine. Very diddy little jet engine, but it is nonetheless a jet. There seems to be a little bit of turbulence here over the Nevada desert right now. Look at this. The wing is actually, there's little parts of it that are ever so slightly. Can you see that it's, in addition to the turbulence, there's like a little bit of vibration. I like that. We're going pretty fast here now, 280 knots. Let's put another few degrees on. Again, I do want to fly underneath the bridge before heading to Boulder City, which is where this VOR beacon is down here. Interesting that it held us at 6,300, not 6,000 feet. So if I just manually let's go down 500 feet. I assume that's going to hold us off at 6,000. Let's increase our VS to 7. It's really funny because I own the Nevada map on DCS, and not so much recently, but years ago, I mean, I flew all around here and I recognized all the shape of the lakes, the hills. There's a little airfield over there that was too short for the jets, but you could certainly put like the Spitfire or the Mustang over there. Very often I'd fly around this lake, and this particular mountain had a string of SAM sites all around here, and yet here I am flying over the same map, and obviously there's no threat whatsoever. It's, at least I find it a little interesting, kind of weird. Alright, let's disconnect the autopilot. I'm not sure what button it would be, so quick
Autopilot.
There we go. So clearly that red button is one to bind. Idle the engines then, and down we go. Gonna trim down a little bit. Trim is very effective. You don't have to hold it very long in order to get the trim that you want. So here's... Copy that. 320 max speed. We're getting quite close to the barber pole. So yeah, unfortunately the Hoover Dam in xPlane, at least the default scenery, leaves a little to be desired there.
High speed. High.
Copy that. But in any case, had it have been there, I don't know if we flew underneath it or would have hit it there, but with all of those electrical wires just willy-nilly. Tell you what, she's such a sporty little plane, you know, after flying large airliners for, you know, so long on xPlane, it really does make a change to have something a little more sporty. Alright, that little pink strip, if you look on the center screen there, you see there's that our aircraft, and, well, as we see it here to the left, but because we're flying south to our right, that little pink strip there is Boulder City, and so we'll be making our ways over. I'll tell you how many times I've hidden behind these hills, whether it's in hiding from planes air to air, or whether I'm hiding from SAM sites to summit. It's just, I know I keep saying it, but it's bizarre seeing it like this. I reckon I could very easily roll this. Let's get a view from the external. Alright, 3, 2, 1, let's go for it. Full left. Yeah, very easily. No problem. I reckon you could pull back a bit on the stick and pour yourself a drink the entire time. Put the sound back on internally. Alright, we're coming into Boulder City then, so let's pay a little bit of attention. So this is going to be the first time landing the aircraft, and I can't see it being any difficulty whatsoever. It just flies the way you would expect. It feels right. It's a small aircraft. It feels like a small aircraft. It's got the... I remember years and years ago when I first... And it literally was years and years ago. I didn't tell you how many years ago it was. But the very, very first time I flew Microsoft Flight Simulator was... Well, put it this way. I was less than 10 years old. And I was 40 this year. So you try figure out which one it was. It was... And I remember it... I wouldn't say quite like yesterday, but I remember it being at Meigs Field, whatever, in the middle of Chicago. Just almost no detail whatsoever, and there was no such thing as textures back then. The grass was green, the runway was grey. I don't even think there was a white dotted line in the middle. And there was just these 3 or 4 rectangular things that were supposedly buildings. And they called it Bill Gates's Learjet. I remember that. It was literally called, it wasn't called the Learjet, it was called Bill Gates's Learjet. And I remember going on that, and, you know, obviously it was a lot of fun, right? You obviously needed a bit of imagination. There weren't many kids that were flying flight sim, and, you know, at the time it was just a friend's of my parents, actually, not even mine. I was obviously very jealous about this computer game. Little did I know what it was going to lead to. Right, what I'm going to do now is a sort of a 270-degree right-hander, which will hopefully bring us in line. I am aware that there is this mountain just to our right, and so the turn is going to need to be pretty tight, so I'll pull back a little bit on the stick to help facilitate, and I am going to go flaps 1. No idea that the barber pole was going to be at 180 knots, so that was a bit of luck that we were just less than. Trim back, trim back, trim back. Flaps 2. Let's go ahead, dump the gear. And I don't know. Oh yeah, it had 4 notches of flaps, so let's go flaps 3. And again, I'm not sure if it said auto brake per se, or if it's just speed brake, open, close. All right, we've got it. Thank you, Betty. Well, it's not Betty in that case, was it? It was Bill. Wait, let's roll it off there. We are in line with the field. Let's go flaps 4. Yeah, we didn't set the pressure or anything. Actually says on there 2996. The standby says 2992. I wonder if that pressure, the altimeter's 2996, was automatically tuned, or if it was me accidentally fiddling with a switch. Perhaps before we powered the aircraft. I don't recall. I'm not really sure what my approach speed should be, but I'm going for what feels right, and right about here feels about right. Just so that we've got about 4 or 5 degrees angle of attack. No more. Do have 4 whites. I'm just going to put a little bit of slip in.
300.
That's it. Let go of the slip.
Flaps. 200.
Right, going flaps full. I already thought they were. Power on.
100.
Down we go. I don't know if we have reversers. We certainly don't seem to have auto brakes. Giving them a little squeeze, and again, and release, and Squeeze again. And release. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Boulder City, just south of Vegas. And the Embraer Phenom 300. Have to say, I really enjoyed that. Do you know, that was a lot of fun. Typically, for me, the fun, if you want to call it that, is the problem solving, procedural, got this restriction, this speed, the plane's heavy, it's light, the performance, you know, whatever the thing is. Whereas this is like, it's just a joy to fly. It is genuinely a joy to fly. Now, if I can figure out these, you know, use these Garmin displays properly, you know, clearly you can rig yourself up with LNAV, I'm sure. I don't think it's got VNAV capable, certainly not auto throttle. But, you know, if you're paying attention, you can do the VNAV yourself, providing the LNAV is taken care of. And so, yeah, big fan, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed the video. And so until next time from me, somewhere in the Las Vegas desert, until next time, wherever in the world you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Take care, see you again, ta-ra.